All right, welcome to the Gateway API meeting for March 3rd. Alrighty, wow, this year is flying by. Just a few things to get through today. Looks like a pretty open agenda. As always, don't hesitate to add things to the agenda if there's anything on your mind that you want to talk about. This is a Kubernetes community meeting, which generally just means we abide by Kubernetes Code of Conduct. In general, just please be nice to each other. If you happen to remember, there's not many people at this meeting, but it is helpful if you use Zoom's raise hand feature just so we can make sure that we get to everyone who has something that they want to add or say. And with that, I think I recognize everyone on this list. Yeah. But if not, actually, if anyone does want to introduce themselves, this is a great time. If you are new to the call, new community, whatever, by all means, great to hear what brings you here.
I think Spencer was the first one to hit video, so.
Oh yeah, I can hop in real quick since I don't think I've been on many of these calls over the years. But I'm Spencer. I work with Rob at Google on the Gateway team here, and I've been working on Gateway for GKE for the last couple of years, and I've done a couple things with open source, and I'm also part of a Gateway API panel at KubeCon next month. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Rose?
Hi, I'm Rose Ray. I'm a college student. CS student, and really just here to learn.
Great to have you here, Rose. Thanks for introducing yourself.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Anyone else want to say hi? Awesome. Well, I think, Rob, over to you to run the agenda.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. It looks like somebody signed us up for triage. I don't know who it was. If anyone on this call has anything in mind with triage, we can do that. Otherwise, I think I may leave it for the end.
I actually saw after we touched a little bit in the code gen, I saw an issue, but I didn't have time to see that someone's code gen is broken. Did you happen to see this?
I think what it was is they had to rebase, and then it was so. I think that fix. For anyone who wasn't paying attention, we had a fun thing last week where Lior and I were both having trouble getting code in, and it turns out that the list of packages is not sorted by client Go, so it's depending on your system sorting in the same way. Or, well, it's really dependent on your file system, and that lining up with everything else. And in the case of Lior and I, we have different sorting than what our test suite expected. So yeah, anyways, but Ben helped figure that one out and got a quick fix in to actually sort the input.
The thing that I still haven't had time to figure out is why suddenly it happened, because I was using CodeGen without the sorting for.
No. It's because we moved to the experimental APIs, which means we have multiple packages, which Dave did a bunch of refactoring to our CodeGen. And I think that's been within the past week or two.
I see.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, okay. Lior, I guess actually that puts you up first.
Yeah, I think these ones were from long ago. Probably, yeah. So John, so if you go up, the first sentence here is like a thread that turned surprisingly very long, like I think over 60 comments on Slack. about our basically rewrite semantics and things we don't cover. And it's essentially, if you go down a little bit, I actually see still GitHub. Yeah, but you can go down. So I think, yeah, essentially there is a suggestion from John to iron something out with a very complex envoy regex. Flynn pointed out something he believed is more simple, but I still haven't figured out Flynn's opinion here. But yeah, we need it causing problems. You can see Arco mentioned this in Envoy Gateway. There were some issues in Istio. So yeah, it's just a matter of semantics, and probably if we iron it out, I believe the implementations we need to change. We need to change it. I'm not sure if it's a breaking change or not.
It is, because if we're doing anything, it'll be tightening validation, which is a breaking change. Doesn't necessarily mean we can't do it if it's really, really important, if the behavior is completely broken, but
So-
we need to be really careful about it.
Yeah. So to clarify, it's not like we're not validating it, right? It's like kind of our expectations from implementations to how to
Yeah.
treat it. So
Yeah,
essentially, So
yeah, no, I understand. It's more one of the reasons I haven't commented there is that I needed to it's one of those things I need to sit down and like draw it out and like
Yeah.
write a bunch down. Yeah, but if the problem is that if we change validation such that values that used to be valid are no longer valid, then that is definitely a breaking change, because you can't round trip the things, and so that's a breaking change between and within the same API, within a stable API version, is really bad. So we just need to be really careful about how we do that.
But what Leo's talking about, I think, is not any change to validation, but more maybe conformance test. For example, it would be I don't think our conformance test covers this right now, so it would be a net new conformance test that most implementations would fail today.
I think
Is that a fair?
the most immediate thing is putting these additional examples in the spec which guide implementations, hey, what to do. So obviously it will stop new implementations from doing something that is ambiguous. But the second thing is like, okay, all other implementations kind of align with it. And obviously, we could write conformance tests for it. So it's essentially, as this issue indicates, like it mostly boiled down to the case where prefix match is just a slash. And yeah, like similarly to Nick, it's really hard to resonate about it without actually writing it. Surprisingly, it's very like non-intuitive. But yeah, I mean, there is another issue, by the way, Nick. I'm not sure. Maybe you refer to this one, which I do offer on the second issue to strict validations.
Maybe that was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move to this one, like the other one, so basically, yeah, this is just like about putting and aligning what are expectations from the rewrite. So that's this.
Okay, and so the second one is basically
right.
The idea that replace prefix match should really always start with a slash. Is that?
Yes. So I've tested it with a few I mean, some people I talk with thought like that it's disallowed, but yeah, we do allow it. Yeah, technically, Rob, I think you pointed out in one of these meetings where, technically we can have query param or something like this, but I think most browsers, and I'm not sure, I think most of the implementation I see kind of normalize that and put a slash in between after. So this would be a breaking change if we disallow it for sure. So
I think this is one of those cases where we need to start leaning in on validating admission policy. There's a way where you can do something similar to what we would do upstream in the same case, where we would say any pre-existing config has to continue to exist. Any new config, you can't do this going forward, basically. And so there's no way to do that built into CRDs. It's entirely possible to do that with validating emission policy, though. And we're probably going to be relying on that more for things like feature gating. So I think that pattern will just have to be something we embrace.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think as long as we can make it work that people who have accidentally persisted this into their database don't end up with problems, then it's fine. That's the only thing I'm worried about here is if you have managed to write something in there, and we add say cell to it, then when you start reading, then things can get weird if you've got invalid values inside a thing that's already persisted. I think that if we make it so that if we use a validating emission policy or something to say, okay, you shouldn't do this, and we say in a couple of versions we will drop the curtain and make this like not work, then we give people 6 months or a year to get the stuff in order, and we call it out a lot, then we can probably do it, but we just need to be careful because it is a breaking change.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm actually curious if it works for anyone.
I mean, almost certainly the config won't work, right? Like I don't think it'll work for everyone, but
that's a
maybe
good thing. I wasn't aware of validating emission policy being able to do this feature, which is nice. So Rob, if you have some references or something that you know or have other use cases which you mentioned, we're probably likely to have it. So if you can link it there and we can get the discussion going.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, thanks for raising this. This is a nuisance, but something we should definitely cover. Because like Nick said, I doubt anyone supports this well right now. Cool. All right. Was that it for your things, Lior?
Yep.
All right, sweet. Next ones are really just check-ins. All right, so this is going to be quick, I think. RC1 is we're hoping for March 10, which is a week from today. And then hoping to get a final release out 2 weeks after that. Again, these are optimistic timelines. I'm not trying to commit to these timelines. I'm just trying to give some level of transparency as to what we're hoping for here. One thing we've gotten some feedback actually as recently as today in Slack, but also other forums, that it'd be really useful to aim for having all dates specified upfront before we start a release cycle. We tried to avoid that in the first couple times we did this, just because we were still trying to figure out how this whole thing was going to work. Now that we're getting, some level of idea of how we're going to make this timeline work and around how much time it's really taking to get through each cycle, I would love to try in the next release cycle to try and set all dates up front. But obviously that's going to rely on us being very firm on every deadline, because we won't have any ability to really shift without pushing every future date forward. So yeah, that's something that I'm interested in, unless there's objection for the next release. As far as things going to
can I just comment there, Rob? Yeah. So I just wanted to emphasize that the reason we want to do all of this is because we want everyone to have like predictable release cadence and to have things coming out at certain times of the year. Also, if we ever wanted to be able to go faster and have more releases a year, if we don't get good at doing this sort of thing and having definite release phases and not pushing timelines out, then we're not going to be able to do that. So if we want to be able to release faster and or more efficiently, then we've all got to be really disciplined that the deadlines are the deadlines. You can ask for exceptions, specific exceptions for the deadlines, but they are always going to be specific exceptions. Like we're never going to do a blanket there's no features in the release, so we're going to push the release back by a week, right? Like if there's no features in the release because no one reviewed anything, or we didn't, nobody had the time to do the work, then there'll be no features in the release. We all don't want that to happen, so I encourage everyone to make sure that you put the work in, and that folks who are assigned to review, and even if you're not assigned, then you can review GEPs as well. Anybody can review GEPs. You don't need to be a GEP reviewer to review GEPs. Feedback is welcome on any GEP from anyone. As long as you keep it relevant and constructive, then yeah, and that's one of the best ways to move ahead in the project. And for new folks is to look at the gaps, to read them, to make sure they make sense. Every gap should make sense to someone who is relatively technical, relatively familiar with Kubernetes, but maybe not familiar with this problem space. It's one of the best ways to have, really clear gaps, is to keep in mind that, relatively technical people should be able to read a gap and come up from zero to fully understanding what the gap is for, why we've done it, and why we've done it the way we've done it. And so having people who are not familiar with the project reviewing gaps is really, really, really valuable. So yeah, please, everybody, if we really want more stuff to happen and to get all of these features that we all want done, then it's really, really, really important that we all review gaps, and we do it before the deadline, preferably like more than a week before the deadline, so that we have time for a couple of rounds of changes. Because I have never seen a gap that did not lead at least 1 or 2 rounds of changes, and that's for a tiny trivial gap. The bigger your gap, the more rounds of changes you'll need. So yeah, anyway, sorry, that's enough ranting for me.
No, big plus one. I mean, there's a lot to do here, and I appreciate everyone who's putting time in. And what we're trying to do here is get to a more predictable release cadence, but also, especially coming in the next year, I really want to get to a faster release cadence. And that relies on when we have like if we keep on granting exceptions to every deadline, that means we never actually release, right? It's and then it makes that much more painful to miss a deadline because the next release is that much further away. So if we can have more smaller releases, that's going to be better all the way around, and gradually, slowly trying to work towards that. And this is just a part of that. So yeah, just run through these. Percentage-based request mirroring. Thank you, Lior. You covered everything here. Unfortunately, I think back in TLS policy just ran out of time in this release. I'm still really hopeful that we can squeeze a conformance test into this release at least, so we can get some, some soak time on a conformance test. But we'll see on that. And then policy attachment, Guy has a very thorough PR. I think several of us have reviewed it at this point, and it's led to many comments. And there's actually also, this is a good call out. There's a meeting, I think tomorrow, Wednesday my time, depending on your time zone. And if anyone is interested in that, we have a whole hour-long meeting to discuss policy attachment this week. So we can try and keep that moving forward. But before I move further, Candice, you've got a hand?
Yes, I think the meeting's tomorrow, actually, but I'll double check my calendar.
It is
That's why I was
tomorrow.
reviewing. Okay.
Yeah,
It is
it's
tomorrow.
just under
Thank you.
24 hours from now. Yeah. Thanks,
And
Candice.
sure, no problem. And the policy attachment is not really a standard, as was discussed in the in the review. This is not becoming a standard.
It's going to be memorandum. So it's not. So I think the most relevant part for this discussion though is that it is becoming a memorandum, but that will mean that the direct and inherited gap slots that they are currently taking up will still clear up, because those things will no longer, those 2 gaps are no longer, those are actually moving to defined. So that means that those two, the most relevant thing is that leaves those 2 slots available in standard. That means that we have slots available to move things to standard from experimental, which means that we have slots available in experimental, because that's how it works. You got to, it's a fixed size queue in each category, and so we've got to push something out into standard to be able to free up space to push experimental things forward into standard.
Now, how can we describe this in the release notes? Policy attachment move to memorandum.
I mean, I think the memorandum. I think we can call the memorandum like the pattern, like stable or something like that. I think that's the key thing that we want to get there, is that as far as we're concerned, like the pattern is usable with caveats. but like
Yeah.
this is like it's not. We can't call it experimental anymore. I guess it's the
Yeah, policy attachment has always been very strange because it's not everything else that's run through the GET process, or almost everything else that's run through the GET process, has had API changes associated with it. Policy attachment does not. So we want to find a way to communicate this is stable, like this is a pattern that is stable, without saying that it is a GA API, because there's not actually an API to this. It's a pattern that is stable. I don't know. It's really messy, but I think the consensus is people are okay with memorandum, and doing standard is a bit messier. So let's just do memorandum. It's roughly the same in my opinion. Candace, do you have anything else? I don't. Okay, no.
No.
Quick
Leo, are
question.
you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, does it mean that we have a place for so we don't have a place for standard right now, right? Like,
oh no, I think we are always, if there is something that can go to standard, we always want it to go to standard. Yes.
So I think supported features are in a way where I think more 3 implementations implement that. The only thing that is missing is just like a PR to the implementer's guide. It's been a while. You know.
Do we? I guess we don't really have conformance coverage for it, but what we said we were going to do with supported features is whenever we released it to standard or GA, that would be the only way to run conformance tests. By like you put your features in gateway class.
Yeah, but
status.
you cannot do that until, I mean, you could do it with like a flag as a guard or something, right? Otherwise, everyone would just be broken. Like everyone who's not. If I change the framework, everyone who is not implementing supported features would just be broken right away.
Yeah, so that's I think we can't push it forward this version. I think we can aim to push it forward next version because we'll have time for people to give people a run up to say, hey, in 1.4, you must do supported features of some sort because we are going to flip the conformance tests so that you have to do supported features, and that conformance tests will only trigger off supported features.
And it would be great if that could be opt-in in this release. Like run a conformance test based off status supported features. Right? Maybe that. Sorry, I'd cut you off, but
yeah, that's fine. No, that's like I think that's completely fair. Having a flag available in this release that says, this is the experimental status mode or something like that, then yeah, that would be very helpful, because that means that people immediately would be able to test out their implementations and start moving their implementations towards it. But we definitely can't flip it at this sort of date because there will be a bunch of work for implementations to need to pick that up.
For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I could open the relevant issues.
Yeah. I would hate to lose track of this. So yeah, if you don't mind opening issues.
I mean, I would not have bandwidth to do this before this release, but I can open the issues and help whatever want to do it. And if not, we'll just do it next release.
Great. Cool. Okay. As far as things that made it into experimental this time, actually, just one last thing. Ping in Slack if you want an invite to the meeting tomorrow. It's not on the regular SIG network calendar, but it's meant to be open to anyone that's interested. So yeah, just ping in Slack if you want to be added. All right. So next one is cores. I ended up taking this one over from Leong. There was a mix-up in terms of timeline, communication, whatever, and they missed this timeline, but it did squeeze in. John called out a couple details that need to be cleaned up in terms of validation, but otherwise I think this one is almost good to go. Listener sets I think is fully good to go. Retry budgets.
There's one last PR that needs to be merged today for it to make it, I think. It seemed like it's basically good. I think, Eric, I think there's just one last thing for you to do.
Yes, I think I just found it.
Oh,
it's Yeah, it's the like new X dash group doesn't have a V1 Alpha 2. It only has a V1 Alpha 1.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's right. We should use V1 Alpha 1 for this as
Yes.
well.
okay. I just wrote a handful of tests and then I'm like, why isn't it working locally? So that's what Mike is helping me with.
Right.
I
Okay.
think we got it.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
It's like
Yeah,
so
so
close. So close.
that is confusing, but yeah, it is more correct
Do
to.
I just need to change the Mike, maybe you could
Yeah,
DM me on
I'll follow
Slack
up
with
with
the
you.
change I need to make here. Thank you.
Yep. No worries.
Yeah, I'm just
Cool.
starting my day,
Yeah.
Eric. So if you can get all the changes in, and then I can LGTM it once.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. Okay, well, this will be a full release. One of the things I realized I have not covered yet is usually we try and do a blog post to cover the release. We don't have anyone owning that right now. If anyone wants to volunteer to own that, that would be very awesome.
Yep.
No pressure, but if anyone does want to, that would help with our release process.
Very much so.
And a reminder, I think we should probably try and do the same thing we did last time, which is after we released, we gave it a month. We can choose time frame, and then we featured all the implementations that were ready to go at that point in time in the blog post, right? So instead of it being more of an abstract thing of here's an API, you can use it sometime, it was here's an API and you can use it with these 3, 4, whatever implementations today.
Yep.
Okay. And then the last one is KubeCon London. Last time we did a lot of break room sessions, which I found really helpful. But yes, I think it wore us all out. So I would like to do some again this time. Really, Leora started a great doc last time. If no one already has one going, I'm happy to start one again. Or Leora, you can, whoever, anyone can start a doc here and link it. Maybe just brainstorming, are there areas that we know we're going to want to cover this year?
Do you want to, sorry, do you want me to paste the previous doc here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yep. Yeah, I think we should try and make it so that we're sort of no more than like 3 or 4 maximum 2-hour sessions.
Yeah.
Like no more than 8 hours. Because the last time it was like 15.
Yeah.
I think I added it up to, and that was too many. That was too many hours. KubeCon is already a pretty busy week, right? And I don't know about anyone else. By that last meeting, I think I was a bit more mean, Leo, than I normally would be with you because I was just so tired.
Now you're scaring some other people.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna the 2 that I really want to talk about at this KubeCon are LM routing, auth, and actually no, I'll add another one. So
Isn't
Ingress
that
Nginx.
Ingate?
Yeah, Ingate. Yeah, I mean basically, but one of the things, this isn't necessarily tied to Ingate, but it's basically Ingress Nginx has said, hey, we're moving off of, we're archiving the project in now a year and a half, and everyone should move to Gateway API, have fun. And Gateway API is lacking almost half the features of Ingress Nginx right now. And so I'm trying to find a way to close that gap so that people actually have a path across and they don't just feel like we've left them with no good option. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is more, I don't know, feature gap for lack of a better term.
Did anyone did a kind of feature analysis kind of thing, like survey?
Yeah, we've got there's at least one spreadsheet hanging out, and James and I have a talk about it, and so conference driven development will have something like more complete by then, but a lot of it is going to be. I would love, we'll have a survey, but I would also love to get some real feedback from people about like, what is it that is is scaring you away from Gateway API? Like, I would move if only I had X or Y or whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to get that kind of feedback would be helpful.
Yeah.
I think we've definitely had some feedback recently from other Kubernetes folks sort of saying like, I mean, I'm trying to be respectful of how they said it, but of what they said, but yeah, effectively like everyone liked Ingress because it was like only one thing. Gateway API is a lot more things. Like, how can we resolve this tension? And yeah, I don't know is the answer there, but yeah, I think that's definitely a productive discussion to have. Yeah, I think there'll definitely be CRDs installed by default may actually be better to be like an unconference thing at Maintainer Summit or something like that as well.
Yeah, I should let me sign up for that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll start that.
Yeah. Because I think there's probably going to be a bunch of other Kubernetes areas that are very interested in that too. So.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
As always, we're out in front here, but other people want the same thing. So yeah, whatever we figure out how to do, yeah, probably other people will follow. So
yeah. All right, I think that may be everything for today. I guess any volunteers to create a doc for this KubeCon London
I think
break room session?
For some reason, the title's not getting up. It's not up to date.
Oh.
I just so what I did is like I was like, okay, let's just put in the same doc with different headings, and yeah, I just put it to do if you share the screen so people will see, so then they could take the inspiration from previous doc.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just reuse. Okay, and aim for less than more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
that was
this
what,
this
1,
table
2, 3, 4, 5. 6,
this table did not.
10,
this table
that
doesn't
was 10
capture
1-hour sessions or something.
It doesn't
Yeah,
capture all of the meetings we had. We had much more than this.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
that is
was
10. That is
just
10
constant.
listed pre-organized 1-hour meetings, and we had definitely had more than that. Yeah. Makes me feel better about being tired. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Oh man. I love KubeCon, but man, I'm just so exhausted when it's over. I
agree.
Yeah.
By the way, London is not like Salt Lake. You actually have things to do outside KubeCon, so probably need less.
Right.
Zing.
Fair. All right. Anything else we should cover? Any open items? Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day and week, and we'll see you online, and hopefully some of you will see KubeCon.
Sorry to interrupt. One thing, Nick, would you be able to stick around for a second to help me take a look at this issue I'm having, my PR?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Cool.
we'll just stop the recording then.
Thanks everyone. I'll stop recording and we can go. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
cheers. Thanks.
Thanks.